Hey folks, it's Marvin Cash, the host of The Articulate Fly, and we're back with another Southwest Virginia fishing report with Matt Reilly. How you doing, Matt?
Doing pretty good, Marvin. How are you?
As always, just trying to stay out of trouble, and took a look at your weather, and like everywhere else in the Southeast, we cooled off and then we warmed up again, and then I think in about 4 or 5 days we're going to cool off again. What's that doing to your bite?
It's been, it's been kind of stop and start for that reason. Some days we're, water temperatures are dropping way down into the mid to low 60s, and we're, fishing slower and the fish are a little bit funky. And then some days, like the last couple of days here, this week we're able to get a few on top. But it just, their smallmouth bite right now is really it's still sort of traditional fall. We're able to catch a few on topwater bugs, but really, the last couple of days we've tried to do the topwater bug thing and catch a couple, and then throw some sort of streamer on, and we're getting fish following up every couple casts. So it's very noticeably a bait fish and crayfish eatery right now, and we're just rolling with that day in and day out.
Yeah, it's interesting because I was recording with Ethan earlier today, and he was basically saying that last big rainfall really killed the cicada bite in Central Virginia.
It kind of has here too, to a certain degree. They ate them for a solid month, not that long ago. So they'll still react to that kind of thing. A smallmouth will always react to something flattened down on the surface of the water, but it's not. I'll put it this way. You can fish a cicada without cicada fishing. Fishing cicadas to fish that are looking for cicadas. That they'll still eat the flies. But really, today was an overcast, cloudy day. Topped out around 68, 70 degrees, and I don't think I heard a cicada all day. I don't think I did yesterday either, with the sun. So it's definitely tapered off pretty hard.
Yeah, and I would imagine too that the smallies are becoming harder to pattern. They're starting to kind of move to. They're a little early for wintering holes, but they're not where they were, say, 2 or 3 weeks ago, probably, right?
No, yeah, it was probably the last couple of days of September that they really started moving around. They're bunched up a little bit, but yeah, we're finding fish in swift water, pocket water, big, deep, slow, winter pools. We're finding them just about everywhere. So it's right now they're really just kind of roaming around, feeding, and there's very little pattern some days. You'll fish a bait fish for a couple hours and get a couple fish, and then it'll slow down, and then you change, and you get one right off the bat, and then maybe get a couple more, and then that slows down, and so really kind of all over the place. I have a feeling, fall seems to get more consistent the later, we get in the month of October, typically.
Yeah, got it. And you've got a question from Colby, and he wanted to know at what water temperature does the smallie bite really kind of start to slow down for the year?
Well, so I guess that's kind of a big one. It depends on what you mean by slow down, because it's all a gradient. Certainly the fishing's a little bit slower, now than it was in August, but and September, but it's still really viable, and there's still lots of fish to be caught. But generally, it's 45 degrees or so, upper 40s is really when things start to slow down a little bit. And 45 degrees in November and December is a little bit different than 45 degrees in March, in the sense that, in the fall you're dropping and in the spring you're rising. So, in March you can have 45-degree water temps, and then you get a warm couple of days, and it'll hop up to 49 and 50, and the fishing's off the hook. In the fall, it tends to go the opposite way. You'll have some mid to high 40-degree days, and then you'll get a cold snap, and things will really shut down. And but frankly, once we get into the low 50-degree range is when I start to think about muskie fishing a little bit more. Everything's getting about the 50-degree mark is what I would cite for most of the fish in our rivers really getting settled in those winter holes. So, that's what the smallmouth fishing becomes in the wintertime, around 50 degrees. But, the muskie fishing is about as optimal as it's going to be around that time frame too. So I tend to shift gears a little bit there, but, I would say you've got pretty consistent, as long as you can follow them in the river and kind of stay in front of them with flies, that is getting down lower in the water column and finding that transitional water. You can catch fish well down into the 40-degree range.
Yeah, and to get there, I mean, given where we are right now, where we're having highs in the 70s and the 80s, I mean, you're going to have a pretty good long stretch of cold nights to get to that place.
Yeah, I mean, it'll likely be, like I said, it'll be mid-November to December, probably.
Yep. Well, folks, we love questions at the Articulate Fly. You can email them to us or send them to us on our Facebook or Instagram page. And if we use your question, I'll send you some Articulate Fly swag, and we were in a drawing for something cool for Matt at the end of the season. And like we always do, Matt, want to check in and see what you're writing this week for the Rural Virginian.
Yeah. So this week, we're actually a little bit behind down here, but I'm going to write a little scientific piece about fall foliage and sort of what all that's about chemically. I just got back from a trip to Vermont, if you can believe that, turn and burn last week. And it was spectacular up there, but I'm thinking we're probably not going to have great fall colors in Virginia this year, just as dry as it's been all summer and early fall. But I'm going to write a little bit about that this week, and I should be sending that in tomorrow.
Very cool. Well, as always, we'll drop that in the show notes, and I got your link to your Muskie Rod article in Hatch Magazine, and we'll include that too. And before I let you hop, I know you haven't really started booking muskie, but I know you've got some space kind of in the last part of your smallie season. You want to let folks know kind of what you have available and how to reach you?
Sure. Yeah. Got some dates in late October. November is going to be fairly transitional, and I like to, make sure people are flexible, because I really, prefer to not be put in a corner in terms of, because we can have some great smallmouth fishing in early mid-November, but if the conditions aren't great, I tend to try to do something else or reschedule or something like that. But we're going to start doing some brown trout floats the next month or so. Really now, through the rest of the winter, and then we won't get started on the muskie thing until probably November at some point. But the deal, everything's on the website, email, phone number, etc. Feel free to reach out however you'd like to, and I look forward to talking to you.
Well, there you go. Well, listen, folks, as I always say, fall is my favorite time of the year to fish, and you owe it to yourself to get out there and catch a few. Tight lines, everybody. Tight lines, Matt.
Yeah, man. Thanks, Marvin.